2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Katie Greifeld and Bailey Lipschultz. He's in for Romaine Bostic. Here to help take us through the closing bell, we're joined by a global simulcast. Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec. We bring together all of our various audiences to talk about the first trading day of July. Carol Massar, a month which is pretty good for the equity bulls, but a little bit of a sell-off into the close.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got to say, not a great start to the third quarter or the second half for semiconductors. The Philadelphia Stock Exchange Semiconductor Index, the SOX, it is down about 6.2% as we speak. So we're seeing, once again, it's been a volatile sector, I feel like, as of late, but you're seeing some intense selling today.
Did you see this news from Mark Gurman and Maggie Eastland that Apple is looking to buy Chinese-made memory chips with this lobbying push?
Wow.
Micron shares were down. They actually reached session lows after this story was published. Micron shares down just heading into the close, down about 10% right now. Apple shares spiked higher, up about 1.5%.
Yeah, Tim, it's been a tough, as Carol mentioned, tough go for some of these chip-making companies. Again, the rotation, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. Adding to that negative sentiment is the potential for cross-selling and competition from China.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how the overall tech trade develops in the second quarter when it comes to chips, when it comes specifically to memory chips, when it comes to software, of course, which has been, sort of the poster child of investor distaste over the past several months. But at least for today, we wrap up the first trading day of July, of the quarter, of the month. The S&P 500 looks like it's going to finish about 0.2% lower here. The NASDAQ, a little bit more selling pressure when it comes to some of those tech names. The NASDAQ composite down about 0.6%. The Dow Jones pretty much flat on the day. Do with that what you will. But then we take a look at the small caps, for example, not escaping the selling pressure either, because it looks like, Carol, the Russell 2000 going to finish just a little bit lower on the day as well. All
right, so that's a look, the big picture there from Katie. I'm going to go back to the S&P 500. And Bailey, you've got 299 names in the S&P 500, higher here at the close, about 204 to the downside, one unchanged.
Yeah, and we're looking a little bit under the hood on a sector-by-sector basis. Seeing some strength for communication services and financials as well as consumer discretionary, but the big drags, information technology, and then also seeing some weakness across utilities and industrial. So an interesting bifurcated market.
All right, guys, let's get to some individual gainers, if I may. And I'm looking at the number 3 gainer in the S&P 500 today, and it's the number 2 gainer in the NASDAQ 100. We are talking about Meta Platforms. This one, at its highs intraday, up about 11.5%, settling down, though, with just under a 9% gain in the session. This has the companies developing plans for a cloud infrastructure business to sell access to AI computing power and models, competing with industry leaders such as Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. So really leaning into the hyperscaler mode, if you will. Company considering selling access to various AI models hosted on its existing AI infrastructure, as well as raw computing capacity as part of its Meta Compute initiative. Some of this has to be as a result of the pressure on the company to basically justify all of the spend that it has done on building out some of their data centers. So now maybe kind of renting out, if you will, its excess capacity. So an interesting one on this. We talked with our Mandeep Singh of Bloomberg Intelligence. He's like, is this a temporary thing? Is this something more substantial? So we'll look for some more clarity from the company on that one. Over to another Mag 7 I go. Got to talk about Microsoft coming off its worst month in years due to concerns about how the company will fare in a world marked by AI. The stock was down 17% in the month of June, bouncing back a little bit here on the first trading day of July, up about 3% in today's session. Microsoft planning to announce thousands of layoffs as the company aims to increase spending on AI. Tech giant is expected to cut less than 2.5% of its overall workforce of about 220,000 people. This according to people familiar with the matter. This was coming from Business Insider. They reported this late yesterday, so the stock bouncing back today. And then, Bailey, you were like, you're all over the place. You were on air with us in the 2 o'clock hour. We caught up with one of the co-founders of one of the IPOs today, Bending Spoons, an IPO at the close, up about 40% in its first day of trading here. And this company its backers, raising about $1.68 billion, market value of, I should pull it up, it was roughly about $21 billion.
26 right now, at least of the close, Carol. So pretty darn big move.
Not too shabby,
No.
right? Although I feel like you and me and Tim, we were trying to press this guy, one of the co-founders,
Luca Ferrari?
Luca Ferrari, on what the business model is and kind of where growth comes from going forward. So a lot of questions. I'm already looking forward to its first earnings day.
Yeah, you and I both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Bailey had great coverage on the Bloomberg terminal too.
Yeah.
Check out his stories there. Hey, I wanted to get to decliners, and I kind of want to play off of what Carol said about Meta platforms. CoreWeave shares today falling 14%. So Meta's surging by, after our Bloomberg News team reported that they're getting into this new business, but it's CoreWeave's turf, specifically considering selling access to various AI models hosted on its existing AI infrastructure, as well as so-called raw computing capacity. That would be part of its Meta Compute initiative. And that is what CoreWeave does. We also saw Nebius fall double digits today, another neo-cloud provider. Also, check out shares of Caterpillar. Speaking of AI plays, yes, Caterpillar has been an AI play. Down 6.9% just today. Michael Burry, you know him from The Big Short, for his bets against the U.S. housing market ahead of the 2008 financial crisis. He said in a post late on Tuesday on Substack that he shorted Caterpillar shares for the first time. He also shorted NVIDIA, Applied Materials, iShares Semiconductor ETF, Tesla, saying that the stocks itself is a pure form of overvaluation in an index. Okay, Caterpillar shares down today by 6.9%. And finally, let's get into retail. End with Walmart, shares falling today by close to 4%. It closed at its lowest intraday going back to November of 2025, or actually lowest close now since November of 2025, down for 6 days in a row, the longest string of down days since October 31st. Cleveland Research issued a report that says that quarter date trends have slowed. Separately, Jefferies, U.S. consumer strategist, wrote that, well, he's unsure if it's the bottom for Walmart shares. He has no idea when new money will step in, given the drop today and the 20% decline from the peak. He said he would not be shocked if Walmart executives are discussing, is there something we should do or say this week or next, given the violence in the move lower, down close to 20% from those June highs.
All right, let's take a quick look at the bond market. We did hear from Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh speaking in Sintra earlier today, saying that inflation risks are down, not making too much of an impact in the market overall. You can see we're talking about basis point moves in either direction. We know we have that big jobs report coming on tomorrow, a rare Thursday jobs report, so maybe lying in wait for that. But I really want to talk about Taylor Swift.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, there's the jobs report. That's important. But you know what's really important?
What?
Is Taylor Swift, are they getting married really at the Garden? I don't know.
I can't believe it.
I feel
You
like...
do believe it, Katie?
No, I can't believe
Yeah,
it.
I
no,
feel like
nobody
it's
believes
a
this.
major distraction.
Maybe
But it's almost
that's what I'm
too
hoping.
obvious, right?
I don't know. I hope it's a red herring. If it's a red herring, they put a lot of planning, a lot of logistics.
But she's good with
into
this kind of stuff.
She is
distracting
she
you.
is. So the New York Times has reported that there's a planned gathering of 100 people at Madison Square Garden on July 2nd, which is tomorrow, followed by a second event for about 1,000 guests on July 3rd. So it hasn't actually been confirmed that this is the wedding.
Wouldn't you just do maybe a concert or a party and then
I think she's going to do a concert.
and then maybe get all your guests on some planes or something and bring them to Rhode Island?
Or you
and
go to
do a
Watch
wedding there? I
Hill,
don't
where
know.
she has a beautiful estate up on the hills overlooking the ocean.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping happens.
Right.
Bailey, what do you
because
think?
I can't believe that she would do it.
I think it's a head fake, but I also want to give Travis some love. I feel like all we do is call it Taylor's wedding. There have to be two people to be part of a
Bailey,
wedding.
Travis who?
Bailey, you've been married. Don't you know the wedding is all about the
He's
bride?
been married and he's currently married.
You are married. Sorry. It's all about the bride. I'm just...
My first wife is a big fan of me. Okay?
God, my first
I only have
wife.
one.
My
First-
ex-girlfriend,
Only
first
current.
wife. Yeah, that's funny. We'll see, though. I mean, it's kind of exciting because we're going to find out in the next few days what exactly is happening here. But it just seems...
I think the best part is, Katie, you want to talk about it, but you're like, I cannot wait to not be in Manhattan
I know.
to find out.
I know, that's the thing. Getting out of the city is the thing to do. It's funny, actually, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has been asked multiple times about this. He's used those occasions to sidestep the question and just encourage everyone to stay cool during the heat wave as that heat dome descends upon us all.
I'm just going to say she's known for her 4th of July parties.
I know.
So she's kind of like leading up to it.
And again, we're just talking about July 2nd, July 3rd, so maybe the wedding really is on July 4th. Maybe she isn't really getting married at MSG. That would be insane.
All I know is you got to get it done before the next football season starts. When do they start training? Is it July?
Why would you look at me for
I know. This is not. Although you've been all in on soccer.
Ask Bailey.
He's got some time. He's got some time before he's got to report for camp.
Got to do a honeymoon.
Got to get done. Honeymoon, yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you and your first wife are okay.